Michael, welcome to JCR. As I understand, this is your first time to the JCR?
It is my first time to JCR, my first time to country.
Yeah, can you tell us how you came to learn about this and made the decision to arrive?
It's actually through a collaborator of mine. I'm a geneticist, so I've been looking for collaborations. In this particular case, we're looking for genetic factors associated with drug response using cardiology. So my collaborators thought this would be a good opportunity for me to come and tell people about our work, because this is very, very international. We have Caucasians, we have many Asian countries participate, and it's usually great to have even more people to participate. And this JCR meeting provides such opportunity because you have many cardiologists from different countries, and it's a good place for me to promote our study and for me to talk to people. And I've actually identified several potential collaborators for this one. So for me, it has been great.
Yeah, you mentioned earlier, it was quite interesting that you're the only geneticist at this symposium.
Yeah.
How do you see your field fitting in with the other kinds of presentations here?
Well, because we work on diseases, so it's important for me to come to those in a way clinical meetings like this, because there is sometimes there's a gap, and this meeting provides an opportunity for me to bridge the gap potentially. So like what you said, I guess it provides a platform for communication, so they know about what I'm doing. I know more about what they are doing, and hopefully we can find common language to continue.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, everything's interrelated in a way.
Yeah, and for many diseases, genetics plays in some part. Okay, there's so many genetic studies on all diseases and cardiovascular diseases too. So that's why this meeting is good. Hopefully, actually, I'm not the only one. Some of the speakers also mentioned some genetics in their talk, so it's there.
Yeah, great. And just finally, is this your first time to Busan?
Yes.
This is only a brief view that you've had so far, but what is your opinion of this city?
It's actually a lot. My first impression is a lot like back home.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Taiwan.
Taipei, yeah.
Yes, yeah.
And you have, what we didn't have is, the beach is like 5-minute walk from
Yeah,
hotel.
that's right.
This is amazing. So I've enjoyed so far, and I'm looking forward to come back. Actually, I'm talking to my collaborator to see if I can have a visiting position here. So that gets me to come back every year, well, more than once a year, and to establish closer connections with Busan and Korea as well.
Yeah, that sounds great. We look forward to welcoming you back and wish you a safe trip home.
Thank you.
This is not your first time at the JCR. How many times has it been now?
Yeah, this has been my fourth time coming back, and I first met Dr. Kim about 4 years ago at another Korean conference, and we actually did a live case together, so I was assisting him. And ever since then, we've really built up a very close relationship where at other conferences, we've always had meals together, and he's visited our institution at UCLA, and we've collaborated on research projects together. So it's been a really wonderful relationship that we've had for the past 4 or 5 years.
Yeah, I've noticed you're a very enthusiastic participator. You'd like to take many roles, and we're also very appreciative of that level of involvement. Can you tell me how the topics at the JCR are relevant for your daily practice?
So one focus has been the platelet aggregation and platelet issue, and Dr. Kim has done seminal work in there, and also he was able to track leaders in the field of platelet biology. Look at Victor Cerebroni, who's really provided a tremendous amount of work and research into this field. So the first day is dedicated to platelet research. Second day, kind of a wide variety of interventional / pharmacotherapy. So this conference offers quite a wide different type of research in terms of researchers from around the world, and it's a wonderful place to come to listen to different people talk about their research endeavors.
Yeah, and seeing it's been 4 years in a row now, Can you tell us how you've seen the JCR develop from your first time until now? Has it changed in its flavor?
It has, and the way that they're able to bring world leaders in the field. For example, S.J. Park was here. We had Jillian Mahilly here several years ago. So people that published in the highest level journals, New England Journal, for example. It's really great to see how this conference continues to grow, and it's always nice to see old faces and meet new friends. So this is a wonderful location right next to the beach, and the hospitality and this, the people have been so nice and welcoming. It's always great, and I look forward to coming back every December.
Yeah, we look forward to having you as well. Just one final question. One of my favorite parts of the JCR is always the case award session at the end, where you have the cases presented, then you have the panel of wisdom, I call it. But what's it like to be on that panel? Do you feel flattered in any way to be giving this kind of advice?
It's flattered because it probably suggests that I have a lot of experience in causing complications myself, so I have some insight into what can be done to get out of these. But I think when you go to these conferences, I think we come out a little bit smarter because we see what our colleagues in other parts of the world are doing. So if we could go back and apply what we learn at these conferences to help patient care, I think that's worth the trip to come 6,000 miles from home.
Thank you for traveling all that way. I understand this is your first visit to this conference?
Yes, it is my first visit to Busan and to JCR, yes.
Okay. How did you come to learn about this conference and arrive here?
I was lucky to be invited last year, but due to clinical commitments at the public hospital where I work, I was unable to attend. But this year, when the invitation was extended to me again, I made a point to attend this meeting.
Yeah, I noticed your research interest seems to be ACS in Southeast Asian population.
Correct.
And you're looking at comparisons to the North American and Europeans in terms of, I guess, responses for genetic factors.
Yes.
And here at the JCR, there's been a lot of focus on the same thing, but for the Northeast Asian population.
Correct.
Do you see many parallels or differences in those two groups, Northeast Asian and Southeast Asians?
I think there are huge differences. For a start, the East Asian population is generally Oriental population and pretty much more homogeneous compared to the very heterogeneous population that we have in Southeast Asia. In my country, there are over 20 different distinct ethnic groups, and in terms of treatment, especially for drug treatment, this has a lot of implications in terms of the dose and the frequency by which we give our therapies to.
Yeah, that's very interesting. With the current rate of globalization and intermarriage happening, do you think that the notion of being Southeast Asian or Northeast Asian is getting a bit outdated already, and we should be really describing patients by genotype?
This is a very interesting question. I think at the end of the day, as clinicians, we have to look after our patients regardless of their ethnic background or the race or gender. I think it's very important, whatever we do to our patient, that we should be doing, we must be very clear, either that be for prognosis or for symptoms. And therefore, the therapeutic strategies that we choose to deliver to our patients have to include more diagnostics such that we can measure how we manage our patients in terms of the treatments that we give. It is very important that we have developed new ways to measure how effective treatment is, not just from the perspective of using one drug, one dose for everybody.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I was looking at an FDA guideline. They were trying to determine if Japanese people in America could qualify for Japanese trial data. And so they were trying to determine how Japanese they were. They said Japanese parents and have lived in Japan for more than 5 years.
Correct.
I think it's a very, very kind of shallow interpretation. And as time goes on with more migration and these things happening, that those guidelines will become irrelevant in a certain way. But coming back to this conference, seeing as it's your first experience, have you found the relevance of the other presentations you've seen to your daily practice?
Oh, very much so. In fact, I realized being here for now 2 days, I have not felt tired yet. We've had long days and long nights, lots of discussions, and every session that I attended seemed to be in some way relevant to what I do. I think critically also there's a lot of involvement of relevant basic science that interested me, especially from the point of even having a geneticist attending at this meeting. It's quite clear that in the future, as technology develops, that we're able to utilize more of these molecular-based instruments to titrate our therapies and in fact save money for policymakers. Clearly, if in the old days, even up to 20 years ago, people were talking about huge sequences to try and to establish the human genome. But now sequences are getting smaller and smaller.
Yeah. And just finally, is this your first visit to Busan, the city?
It is. It's my first visit to Busan.
And what's your brief impression of it?
I think within an hour of landing in Busan, I had already decided to come back.
Great, yeah, we're happy to hear it.
It's a fantastic place to be, not just from the perspective of the location, but I think the people here have been really good. This city reminds me of my own in Kuching. We're also quite close to the seaside, although we don't have a beach as beautiful as this. But it's a little bit too cold to go running now.
That's right, yeah, a little bit cold in December, that's right. Well, Alan Fong, we look forward to welcoming you back next year, and we hope you can make the trip again.
Thank you very much.
Dr. Nguyen, welcome to this interview. We've noticed that you've been here for many years and have been one of the strongest supporters of the JCR. And I'm interested to know what is it about this conference that has led you to every year put your support behind it so fully?
What's special in this meeting is it is every year better and better. And what best in this meeting is about the anti-platelet therapy and also about coronary artery disease.
Yeah, I've noticed. Only in the recent few years, the focus has really turned to platelets and antiplatelet therapy, and that seemed to be a decision or feeling that both you and Dr. Kim arrived at together. Can you tell me what is so important or unique about this emphasis on platelets?
Even for this meeting, or even in the U.S., because right now antiplatelet therapy is an important topic, and we have many new medications and we have many new indications, and then we have to balance the cost effectiveness of the medication and the clinical outcome of this medication. So it is a very hot topic to discuss and to do research in basic sciences research and also in clinical trials. Antiplatelet therapy.
I see. Yeah, you talked about the JCR getting better and better every year. What specific elements of the conference do you think are improving?
In this year, I'm very happy to see that we have many principal investigators of many clinical trials coming here and talk about their own works. When they talk from their own works, the data are more convincing. We talk about the data from Dr. Michael Rinaldi, from Dr. Neil Kleiman, and then we see the data from Japan, from Dr. I remember Saito, and he talked about his study in Japan for antiplatelet therapy. It's very important because we have to be sure that we have first-hand information rather than second-hand information.
Yeah, that's right. And one thing that helps in that way is I think the structure of the discussion panels is much more effective than just asking the audience for a question. But I've also noticed that you have been very good in the chairman's role. One of my first encounters with you was sitting in the chairman's role, asking good questions. Do you feel flattered in any way that you have so many years of experience that you can offer to the younger generation of cardiologists?
I don't prefer to offer advices, but the reason why I'm here this time and I'm really interested on this presentation because I have finished the manuscript of my book in clinical cardiology. It is the 4th edition. It is a clinical cardiology book, so there are many clinical cardiology books in the world, and we have to write in a way that it is attractive, it is clinically relevant, and it is short. because the message we send to the clinicians that was what they have to do, and they don't have a lot of time to read, so we have to summarize and emphasize and give the message clear, clean, and short. This is the key for success in my new book. And Dr. Kim is one of the main editor of the lead editors of the book.
Yeah, I noticed that your book went to the top of the charts for the Barnes & Noble bestseller list, so congratulations on that. Has any of your things that you've learned or discussed from the JCR made it into that book?
I'm sure there are many, because again, when we talk to, if we just rewrite the result of clinical trials from data we receive in journals, the readers can read this data by themselves too. They don't have to go to our book. But when we talk to the investigator, we talk to the principal investigator, we talk to top leaders, then we have many information to write, which the other books don't have. This is very important. And this is what I'm very special. I'm very happy to come here and meet with the principal investigators of many clinical trials, and even for the practicing physician to see what's the best way how to do things, and we can give the message in our books. This is key.
Absolutely. And just finally, your nephew is a resident of this city, and you've been coming back so many years. What is your impression about the city of Busan?
So again, it's a beautiful city. It is vibrant and it is diverse. The key is in the business, like today when I talk about acute MI and medication, I talk from a financial and economics perspective. And when we talk about the 4 metrics in the hospital for the success of the operation of the hospital, we talk about clinical outcome, we talk about patient satisfaction, operational efficiency, and financial health of the hospital. It's the same for this city. And I understand this city is very financially diverse and diversified. And this is the key for success of this city. And so this is very special to come back and see.
Yeah, that's a very interesting insight. Yeah, I never thought about it that way. But Dr. Nguyen, thank you for giving us your time, and we look forward to welcoming you back.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, so probably from all of our visitors, you would have traveled the furthest to come here. At least you'd be on par with those Americans as well. So what has been the impetus or the motivation for traveling so far out of a busy schedule to attend this conference?
Yeah, I think it's Professor Kim, as well as he invited us, and I met him a few months ago, and he seemed like a very nice person. And I've been told about this meeting. It's a very small, select meeting of very like-minded individuals, and I think the program was really good, and also all these international speakers really I thought that I should come and experience what the meeting was about, and that's why I came.
Yeah, and so how have you found the content of the other presentations in terms of what you deal with in Fremantle?
Look, I think the content has been fantastic. It's been one of the best meetings I've attended, because I think it's a smaller, quite intimate meeting. I think that allows you to ask questions and really find a lot of practices from other regions of the world that you're not very familiar with. And I think a lot of what I found is that the practice is very similar, even though we live in different corners of the earth. A lot of our practices are very similar, which is heartening to find out.
Yeah, and I noticed that you're talking about the latest several aspects of STEMI management. Yeah. Have you given that speech already?
Yes, I have. I gave it this morning.
Yeah, could you just maybe in a brief 30 to 60 seconds just talk about what the latest advances are in the understanding of STEMI?
Yeah, look, STEMI is something that we do all the time. It's a very important part of what we do, because it's really the one procedure we do that saves lives. We can do stenting on stable patients, but that's to relieve angina. So it's very important that we get this right. And I think there is a lot of controversy out there as to what the best strategy is. And what I tried to do was just present all the facts, and then gave some of my experiences about what I think is appropriate in STEMI management. And I think that's all you can really do, because there's a lot of varying opinions about how we should treat someone. But all I did this morning was really show the facts. We presented what I thought to be what I got from the facts, and then what I then translate that into clinical practice, and that's what I tried to do today.
Right. And from the other presentations you've seen, has one in particular stood out to you as somewhat interesting in a way?
Yeah, I think the very controversial one was by on the Victor. Is it his surname?
So Brownie.
Yes. That was a very controversial one. But I think that on Thai Kaggle, but I think we needed something like that. We needed something that would challenge us. I don't agree with everything he has to say, but that's fine. But I think he really provoked thought and discussion, and I thought that was a very good thing for the meeting.
Great, yeah. And just finally, this is your first visit to
My first
Busan?
visit to Busan, yeah.
And how's your opinion of it going
I
so
love
far?
Busan. I think the people are very, very nice here. Korea, I find Korea and Japan very similar in that the people are very, very obliging, very hospitable, and therefore it makes it very easy to travel here and to come to these conferences. So.
Well, great. We look forward to welcoming you back next year. Mark Nguyen, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks. I understand this is your first meeting at the JCR?
Yes, it's my first time to South Korea, actually.
Yeah, I see. So can you tell me how you came to learn about this meeting and made the decision to attend?
Yes, it was through my colleague Hector. We met Anthony Nguyen, and he told us about this fantastic meeting which Dr. Kim has organised, and they kindly invited us specifically to talk in this translational science session.
Right, and it's not even over yet, but from the quality of the presentations, how has your opinion of this meeting been?
I think it's a fantastic, well-organised meeting in a very beautiful location, and the science and the clinical findings have been excellent.
Yeah, you've come from a really long way away in London. How has the information that's been presented here, how do you find that relevant to what you deal with back home?
I think many of the findings that have been discussed at this meeting are directly relevant. In particular, many of the speakers reference the work that's going on in Europe and in America, but also putting it in the context of Asian cardiology. So I think that's very insightful for me.
And you gave a very interesting speech earlier today on remote ischemic conditioning. Could you just explain there'll be some laypersons in our audience, what this entails, maybe 30 to 60 seconds?
Yeah, remote ischemic conditioning is a safe way of protecting the heart during a heart attack. And it's by simply putting a blood pressure cuff on the arm and inflating it to temporarily deprive the arm of oxygen and nutrients, you can actually stimulate the body to protect itself, such that the heart can be protected during a heart attack or during cardiac surgery.
I see, so it's a hypoxic response.
Essentially, and the important thing is that it's non-invasive, it's very cheap to apply, and so therefore could provide benefit in countries where facilities and resources are not optimal for heart disease.
So I assume from this research, what could be happening is, as part of a first aid kit, would be some pressure cuff device in future first aid kits.
That's right, and also clinical studies have shown that paramedics in the ambulance can apply this cuff to patients having a heart attack on the way to the hospital. So in places where the hospital is very far from where the patient lives, you could apply this cuff to help protect the heart.
Great. Yeah, I really enjoyed that presentation today. So this is also probably your first time to visit Busan, am I correct?
First time in South Korea, first time in Busan.
Oh, great. And how has your impression of the city been?
It's a beautiful city. We've been to Seoul for 3 days, but Busan is very beautiful with the seaside and the people, and the food here is amazing.
Well, thank you, Derek Hausenloy. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, Hector, welcome to this interview. You've come from a very long way away in Germany, and Germany is very famous for its success and quality of cardiology research. There's a number of very famous centers there. How have you found the standards of the research being done here? How does that compare with how you work back home?
Hola, buenas tardes. Yes, I came from the very far Germany. As you say, Germany is one very big developed country, not only in science but in many other things. But the standards that I saw at this university in Busan is fantastic. I think that the organization quality and the level of the research that is going here gave us a very good impression of what's going on in South Korea.
Yeah, one thing JCR has been focusing on in particular is focus on anti-platelet research. How is that relevant for your practice back home?
Yeah, I saw that yesterday the full symposium on platelet research is very interesting. My background is also, or the background of my boss is on the basic research on platelet activation and inflammation, and I think that now as a basic researcher, now I have a clue what is going on in really scientific clinical trials, and that's very interesting for me.
Yeah, and you gave a very interesting speech earlier today on extracellular RNA and its ability to influence these kinds of events. So do you imagine some time in the future that recombinant RNases will be a therapeutic strategy, an injection?
I think that we are working too much on that now, so this is our dream to have an RNase in a pill. More than all, because RNase is one enzyme that you can jump on, that you can boil it, you can freeze it, you can do whatever you want with them and never lost the RNase activity. The only problem is to have really human recombinant RNases, but we are on that way now. But in the next presentation, I will show how to have endogenous human RNases, how to induce the protection on patients that underwent KBG surgery.
Great, yeah. And seeing as this is your first visit to this city, the city itself, you probably haven't seen a lot of it yet, but what's your impression of Busan?
Busan is, I think that yesterday when we arrived, or before yesterday when we arrived, that was I think that I never thought that Busan is that fantastic as it is. And yesterday and today we have a wonderful weather that at least by the window we can see the sun shining. That is fantastic. So I think that it's not only my first time in Busan, but it's my first time in South Korea. And this gives me only, like in Mexico we say, a small piece of chili to bring more emotions and to bring me back to South Korea.
Well, Hector Cabrera Fuentes, we hope to welcome you back next year, and thank you for your time.
Thank you very much.
William, welcome to what I understand is your first JCR conference, is that correct?
Yes, it is, yes.
Yeah, so far, how has your impression of the conference been?
Oh, I think it was a very stimulating conference. I'm very glad that the component of basic science has been included this year. As you know, I am a basic scientist, and I also appreciated, of course, all of the clinical studies as well that were presented. I thought it was a very nice international group of researchers and clinicians as well. So my impression has been very, very positive so far.
Yeah. And you're from Hawaii, as I understand.
Yes.
And so I guess the city of Busan will be quite different to the paradise of Hawaii, but what's your feeling for Busan, the city?
Well, from what I've seen, I mean, the beach outside looks very much like Hawaii. From the inside, of course, it's a lot colder than Hawaii. But it's a beautiful city, and this beach, especially, I think, is a premier beach here in Korea. Correct?
That's right, yeah.
Yeah, it's really a lovely city. I think tomorrow morning I'm going to go on a tour to see a little bit more of the city. But from what I've seen so far, it's very beautiful.
Great. Yeah, and your very interesting speech earlier today on the role of CD98 on the behavior of smooth muscle cells. Can you give us just a very brief overview of what your presentation entailed?
Sure. So we were studying CD98 as a factor that promotes proliferation of smooth muscle cells. And as smooth muscle cells, as you know, are a key component of the fibrous cap that protects the atherosclerotic plaque from being ruptured. And so it's a very important component of that entire plaque environment. And so what we have found is that CD98 is a key component of the proliferation and the migration of the smooth muscle cells to actually create that nice barrier, that fibrous cap between the blood and the plaque environment.
Yeah, one of the challenges in basic science that I've come across myself in other studies was when we look at the behavior of migration and proliferation, it's very hard to distinguish the two. Cells proliferate and it seems like they're migrating, especially for the scratch or wound assay.
Yes.
How have you tackled that particular problem?
It's virtually impossible to tell in the plaque biology, because it's virtually impossible to stop a plaque at a certain point where it's migrating versus proliferating. So I think most people look at those two as a sort of a simultaneous events that occur. Of course, one has to happen, after the other. But what actually goes on in the development of the plaque, I think it's still a bit of a mystery.
And say the CD98 story was to continue, how would you hope to see a CD98 oriented therapy? How would that pan out?
Yeah, so I think that the best way would be to try and enhance the production of CD98. It's what we showed was that the deficiency of CD98 actually prevents the smooth muscle cells from proliferating and migrating, creating the fibrous cap. So what we want to do is create more of the fibrous cap that protects the plaque. And so we are actually looking at ways of either enhancing or overexpressing the protein called CD98. So that's kind of coming in the future.
Yeah. And just finally, I've always thought that basic science doesn't really do us justice as basic scientists, because it's not basic at all. It's highly complicated.
Yes.
But as a basic scientist, from the clinical presentations that we've seen here today, has any one in particular struck your attention as interesting or controversial?
Controversial? I don't think so. Some of the clinical studies have been, there are studies that focused on the plaque rupture. So those, for me, have been particularly interesting. Since I'm not a clinician, I'm not all that savvy about the intervention, those kinds of things. And then the other part that was very interesting to me has been the platelet session. It was yesterday, for obvious reasons, for the clot and the stenosis and so on. So I think overall, I can't think of a single study that was particularly germane or more exciting than others. But I think overall, it's been a very good combination of the two, clinical and the basic science.
Yeah, and seeing as Hawaii is situated relatively close to Busan, do you see yourself coming back next year?
Well, if I were invited, yes, definitely, yeah.
I'd be very happy to invite you back. William Boisvert, thank you very much.
Sure, thank you.
This is your second year now. So
second time here.
First year was last year. So what was the impetus behind choosing to come back for another year of the JCR?
Well, I enjoyed myself last year. I thought I had a chance to meet lots of neat people from neat places. The hospitality was excellent. The scientific quality of the session was excellent. I think I learned a lot, and I was hoping to do that again.
And there's a lot of very well-regarded cardiology conferences in North America. How do you think this conference here in Korea gives a different perspective or a different angle on your field?
Well, that's a great question. Obviously, the perspective is different. It's a perspective relevant to Asia more than to North America. But, look, if we're going to be smart, there are a lot of things we have to learn, and it's important to learn how things work in other parts of the world. Pharmacologic considerations are different for a variety of reasons. The social constraints of medicine are different, and device utilization is different.
Right. And your interest, as I understand it, your research interest is in platelets,
Yes.
and that fits very well with the theme of the JCR, which has been very platelet focused. But that's only been a decision that's been made in the past couple of years of the JCR, the anti-platelet focus. What has been your feeling about especially yesterday's platelet symposium?
Well, look, we have a lot of questions to answer. You would think that antiplatelet drugs have been around forever, and that physicians are getting tired of hearing about them, but the truth is that's not the case. There are still a tremendous number of unanswered questions. There's still a lot of debate about the best regimens to use, Which drugs do you choose? How do you dose them? Who do you give them to? It's pretty thick.
Yeah, and as one of the more senior faculty members of the JCR,
You can say older.
older faculty members, yeah, I've noticed that there is a very interesting communication that goes on between some of the younger speakers and the chairs and the panelists. I was wondering, and it seems that you, in a way, enjoy that back and forth, questioning the speakers, asking them to think about that. Is that something that you actually enjoy with a certain amount, or do you feel it's more your duty?
Oh no, I love it. I love it. That's why I do what I do.
Yeah. And so far in the program this year, has there been one particular presentation that stood out in your mind as interesting?
I thought the prasugrel dosing in the Asian population was particularly interesting. There's a lot that we don't know. We're concerned about bleeding rates. We're also concerned about drug resistance. How do we balance those? Do you balance them differently in the North American population where the genetic makeup is different and the body mass index is considerably larger? I don't know. That's one of the things we're here to learn.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. One of the things I couldn't help but remember from our last dinner conversation, we were talking about resveratrol and the role in coronary diseases. But you're aware there's been some new research on resveratrol and Alzheimer's or dementia?
Yeah, but I've forgotten about it.
Yeah, that's right.
I'm off resveratrol. It's a younger man's beverage.
Yeah, thank you. And just finally, as the city of Busan, we have the backdrop here with the beach. What's your opinion of this city?
Well, my exposure's been pretty limited. Got in at midnight the night before, was here yesterday recovering from my travels. Looks pretty nice. The beach looks pretty attractive. The only thing I've noticed is that everyone out there is wearing multi-layered down, so I imagine it's not too warm at the moment.
That's right. We look forward to welcoming you back next year.
Okay.
Neil Kleiman, thank you.
Thanks.
Dr. Inoue, you've been a wonderful supporter of the JCR over the years. I'm just curious, why are you so enthusiastic about supporting this conference? You attend very regularly and participate very, very well. What is the reason behind your enthusiasm?
Yeah, I'm very familiar with Dr. Kim, so for many years. So I remember he organized coronary intervention meeting and at the Dongwon Hospital at the time, and I joined the meeting. So it was very wonderful. And 3 or 4 years ago, and Dr. Kim asked me to join the new conference of JCR. So, and 2 years ago, I joined again. So, and at that time, my impression was very wonderful. So, and this year again, and he invited me. I really appreciate it.
And one of your main research interests and activities has been on prasugrel studies in clinical trials. You presented some of your data earlier before.
Yes.
What do you think was the reaction from the audience? Did you hear any interesting feedback that you didn't expect?
I think the dose of prasugrel and different from Europe and the US. So some foreign doctors and maybe have a strong impression of a dose of prasugrel. Yeah.
Yeah, Korea and Japan are very, very close, geographically speaking. But how relevant do you think some of the other presentations that you've seen at the conference so far, how relevant is that for your daily practice back home?
Today I joined the ACS meeting, and so a little bit different situations in each region, and it's very impressive for me. So, and another one is so in Korea, so there are many studies, so very excellent studies. So we have to do. I personally have to do more, and in Japan, yeah.
Well, we look forward to seeing more of your work in JCRs in the future. And Busan is such a short distance away from Japan, so it's very convenient to come here. What is your opinion of Busan City?
Yeah, Busan is very beautiful city, and I came here and twice, second time. So, but I have no time for sightseeing. So next time, and I want to accompany with my family to spend some time in this area.
We look forward to welcoming you back, Dr. Inoue. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Dr. Kim, over the years you've put in a lot of effort and time into running the JCR. What do you think about this conference is special?
I think we wanted to be different from the other meeting. So previously we were started at the same as the other conference, like a live demonstration and some lectures. But now we are not doing the live demonstration course, but we wanted to put into another special area on the research, such as a clinical trial or platelet function and some other new devices. So I think we wanted to be integrate all things of research and intervention for the cardiology research field.
And only in the previous couple of years or few years, the focus of the JCR has been much more concentrated on antiplatelet therapy. Can you tell us the reason behind that decision, that focus? It's become very popular.
But the one thing is that is not an unresolved issue in this field. And the other thing is that we have to have some kind of research field for each interventional cardiologist. So I wanted to focus on this field because the patient population and the patient pool is important. So in each center has their own merit for the research. So I wanted to focus on the platelet work.
And over the years, you've seen the JCR develop for many years now. Have you been surprised by the amount of support that each year you get from especially international faculty?
Yeah, sure. I think every year I got new ideas and new friends, and especially the outside Korea, as well as inside Korea. You and Anthony always helped me, and also our clinical trial center has helped me a lot.
And just finally, each year we hold the JCR here in Busan. What do you think are the advantages of Busan City for hosting international conference?
I think Busan has a huge merit, but I think we don't take advantage of it because I think we have some disadvantage here, like the airport is a little bit inconvenient, and our venue is a little bit outside of the city. But that should be resolved in the future. And then we hope to get more interventional cardiologists in Korea, as well as Japan and China. So we wanted to expand next year some more Asian cardiologists in here. And then another thing to focus is that we wanted to make one journal, maybe English or Korean in the future.
Well, Dr. Kim, thank you for all of your hard work over the years.
Thank you.
Thank you.